Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Here on Shows, Style, and Spirit, I am Ebony, of course, and I want to give the latest update that has been presented regarding the countersuit, Miss Black Titanic's countersuit against Maurice Scott from Love and Marriage Huntsville, as well as the Oprah Winfrey Network, on which LAMH airs. Now, before we get into the details, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. And everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. So, the judge presiding over the countersuit involving the Oprah Winfrey Network and Maurice Scott has made a major ruling. She dismissed OWN with prejudice. And by dismissing OWN with prejudice, this means that the Oprah Winfrey Network cannot be added back to the countersuit. However, according to blogger True T, she reports that Miss Black Titanic's attorney does plan to appeal. I know that I've heard reports of Miss Black Titanic having surgery, and I definitely send her positive thoughts and positive energy for a full and speedy recovery. I do think about Miss Black Titanic being more seasoned, being up in age, and I think about her health. And I know if it were me, I would probably meditate on, journal on, think about, how do I want to proceed? And certainly, of course, this is America. She's an adult, and her attorney can consult and feel like what they want to do. So I just feel like it seems extremely stressful on this lady to deal with these legal proceedings at length. I know that it did seem like actions of an individual, Maurice, and so I guess OWN was able to convince the judge to dismiss them from the lawsuit. Now, as you all know, Maurice Scott sued Miss Black Titanic and Here for Hot Tea, accusing them of reporting a false story about him. As a result, Miss Black Titanic countersued Maurice Scott and the Oprah Winfrey Network after he allegedly tried to subpoena Google for her and Here for Hot Tea's personal financial information. Now, I do want to mention that Google would only provide certain things according to what they publish online. So I do want to share my screen and show what Google is saying online that they would share should they be subpoenaed. So, according to Google's AI overview, when Google, which owns YouTube, receives a subpoena for a YouTuber's information, several steps are involved, and the YouTuber may be affected in various ways. Google, of course, will review the subpoena. They'll have their legal team meticulously review the subpoena to ensure it adheres to all applicable state and federal laws. If the request is deemed overly broad or legally objectionable, Google may push back or object to disclosing the information. And Google is still committed to safeguarding a YouTuber's privacy and works to oppose improper demands for user data. Now, Maurice, this is definitely just alleged with the mention of you allegedly trying to get their financial information. I'm not saying personally that I think that you did that, but allegedly that's what has been reported off and on since this all has begun. Now, Google is making a judgment onto whether or not what's requested in the subpoena is considered improper. And also, Google will notify the YouTuber, but I do want to read point 2 before we get into that. Now, the information requested. So, Google is saying that if they do receive a subpoena for a YouTuber's information, the type and amount of information requested depends on the nature of the legal proceeding, whether or not it is civil or criminal, and the specific details outlined in the subpoena. So, the type of information that Google is publishing publicly, what we're seeing right now, it is different from financial information. When I think of financial information, I think of a person's name on their bank account, the bank's routing number, their individual personal account number, whether it's for a checking and or savings account, and things of along those lines. The possible information requested would include the YouTuber's username, email address, phone number, account creation date. I don't think that's bank account creation date. I think that's the YouTube account creation date, and their login and logout IP addresses. Account activity data, search such as video and chat metadata, IP addresses associated with that activity, or even stored content like messages, videos, and photos. Depending on the legal standard met, subpoena, court order, or search warrant. So, publicly on the internet, Google is not saying that they would give out personal financial information. So, even if he did request that, it looks like Google would not play a YouTuber like that. So that is good for all of us content creators, even the ones, if they don't see it for each other. It looks like Google is trying to safeguard everyone's personal vital information as much as it can. It's still looking out for us content creators, regardless of where you stand, on the side of this situation. Now, notifying the YouTuber. Google's policy is to notify the user, that's the YouTuber in this case, before disclosing their data, as long as it's not legally prohibited by the subpoena itself. This notification usually happens via email or through the YouTube Studio platform. It's important to note that Google will never ask for personal information like passwords in these notifications. So that is something that Google is saying to the content creator. If you were to get such a notification, but it was like spam or, like a trick, just know that Google will never ask you for your passwords. And YouTubers options. So of course, the YouTuber has the opportunity to consult with an attorney. With legal guidance, they could potentially challenge or quash the subpoena in court, especially if they believe it is overly broad, seeks irrelevant information, or infringes on their privacy rights. If the subpoena is valid and unchallenged, or the challenge is unsuccessful, Google will be legally obligated to provide the requested information. And I want to also talk about in number 5, something that I thought was interesting, the potential impact on the YouTuber. Disclosure of information could have implications for the YouTuber, depending on the nature of the legal case. In some instances, the subpoena itself could be perceived as an intimidation tactic aimed at silencing online content creators. So I want to say, I feel like Google and YouTube, they are trying their best to protect content creators just with this information that they are publishing for the public for us to see. Because they're obviously hip to the fact that some public figures, some celebrities, some reality TV stars may send those subpoenas to try and intimidate the content creator. So kudos to Google and YouTube on that. Because when I read that bullet point, I thought of Maurice when he did the Instagram video where he was saying he was giving out awards to the content creators in the LAMH sector. And he also made a video talking about how he wanted Miss Black Titanic and Here for Hot Tea to apologize to him, remove the content, or else, it would be a legal action. And he mentioned Carlos King's name, how he consulted with him first. And he said Carlos did say, give them the opportunity to make it right or remove the content. I'm paraphrasing, of course, Carlos. But Google and YouTube do acknowledge that some subpoenas could be an intimidation tactic. So that those videos that he made definitely made me think of that. However, the subpoena process is an evidence gathering tool and does not inherently equate to an accusation of wrongdoing. So I feel like I'm hoping. I don't think that Maurice was able to collect Miss Black Titanic and Here for Hot Tea's personal financial information. Just from what I'm reading online, Google would not do that, it sounds like. And so, if that is what allegedly was in the subpoena, Google definitely has their safeguards in place and they don't seem to be stupid, and their lawyers do not seem to be stupid. But the judge has dismissed OWN from the countersuit. So perhaps the judge is convinced, they can't help, OWN can't help what he would put in a subpoena or his reaction to stories about him that he is saying is false. But that is the latest update. So I wanted to bring that all to you. And I send positive vibes to everyone. It kind of breaks my heart when to hear about people being stressed out with lawsuits. I know that there's multiple ones going on. I know that, some people definitely felt hurt or embarrassed or had their information they felt like revealed, exposed. And so I wish none of it happened. I wish we could all go back 2 years and just reported about the show and other celebrity news as well. So I'm hoping at some point the LMH sector can recover. I always feel like content creators just continue to create your content, give commentary on stories that move you, that inspire you, that you have a passionate opinion on. And I guess you have to also, just in life in general, exercise some sort of like discernment between minor and major offenses. Even if you are religious and you read the Bible, it does say like offenses are going to happen. So it's in Luke. Let me do a quick Google search. Luke, offenses are going to happen. It is Luke 17. Then said he unto the disciples, it is impossible, but that offenses will come, but woe unto him through whom they come. So like it's going to be moments where someone will say or do something that you do not like. It bothers you, it offends you. And then after that, in my opinion, you have to work out a discernment on, what things will you just ignore and what things will you speak up on. And, there are going to be people that you just no longer F with in life. If you realize they're going to always disrespect you, they're going to always try to provoke a negative reaction from you, then you can just, ignore them and keep doing your content. And I know sometimes that is easier said than done. But I want everyone to continue to enjoy creating content and continue to report on stories that move you. So hopefully at some point it can get to that again. But yes, I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend. This is my third video today, so now I'm going to get out of the house and enjoy the summer weather. I love the summer and I love the weekends. So I will talk with you all soon. Bye.